Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you guys so much for joining us for the Power of One. And we have special guests back with us, Gregory and Gail Hoag of Metaforms. How are you guys doing?
Great.
and I'm trying to get
a busy day.
I'm trying to get the screen to flip over to Eileen. Eileen is also with us. What's up, Eileen?
Hey, I'm good. Nice to see you guys.
I'm used to flipping it to you and it being you there, but it was them, so I had to go with introducing them.
I'm fine with that. I can stay down in the corner there.
So awesome. So how have you guys been doing with this whole, I don't know, lockdown and all that?
You know, Sean, this is something that I think for a long time, a lot of us have been knowing on the inner planes that there's a big transformation coming. Something is really going to happen to shift. And we all had these different make-believe ideas of what it was going to be like. And all of a sudden, life gave us the coronavirus. And to have spirit create something where everyone on the planet is involved in this and slowed down and taken into a place where they have to be more reflective, spend more time, on those, those more inner wavelengths is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And I just feel like this is a blessing. It's hard, but transformation can be difficult. I know it's much more difficult for some people than other people, and I feel great compassion for those people. However, this is what is in line. This is what's necessary for us to kind of like do a total reboot, get off the merry-go-round and come back into that place of connection. What do we want to create now? Because I don't think any of us really want to go back to the way things were. Things were a little crazy, a little cracked. And instead, we have the opportunity to really come from that wonderful unified field and start reconstructing what we want and do it with more intelligence, more compassion, and for the good of all, which is, I think, one of the real big things that's happening with this whole process is that the instructions really are really be aware of what affects us so that we can go into a unity in a place of greater love and compassion and caring for all that's out here in this world. So it's pretty wild, and we're doing pretty well. We're fortunate that we're living in a beautiful space with lovely nature around us, and so we're very, very blessed that way, and just spending a lot of time with each other, right?
Yeah, we are. And I know we've known people that have found it difficult to be that close to the people they're living with. But for us, it's been a real joy. Actually, I've been loving this time because I've been able to be so creative in the quiet. But so much is shifting. It's been a real pattern reset. And this is why we came into the planet at this time. There's so much that hasn't been working, and this has really had almost everything hit the wall. So we really need to watch things break down before they can be built up. That's what Prigogine was always talking about in his theories, that you have to go to an N-1 state before you can go to an N+1 state. So everything that's coming into our consciousness. I mean, look at what's happening with Black Lives Matter. For the first time, there's so much reaction that is positive, with people being willing to change, people being willing to look at it. And I think it's part of the whole tenseness of this time and this dynamic that's really putting people in a space where they're more internal, because they're having the time and the space to react more internally, and then understand that they can put it out into the world. And that's what's happening with a lot of these shifts. So I feel positive about everything. And if people really take this time to start going into what is the most important aspect of my life, why am I here? What's my purpose for being alive? And when everything on the outside starts to pull away old purposes, it means you have to discover what's really real and stable inside, because that's where everything exists, inside us through our heart chakra.
Yeah. I think Shane and I would second that for sure, because we talk about developing gnosis and really going inside to figure out what's happening around you on the outside, especially if you believe that what's happening around you on the outside is a projection of what you're feeling on the inside. So
Definitely.
I found some positives too from a social standpoint. Back in the day in the 80s, when the Reverend Jesse Jackson, which I know you guys will remember him, I'm not sure, maybe Shane will. Too young, Shane. When he did his Rainbow Coalition March, and back then a rainbow meant black, white, yellow, red. It was the colors of human skin. I noticed that there weren't as many whites in the groups of the marches that I participated in from Chicago to Washington, D.C. But, you know, there was a few. It was growing. And now when I look at Black Lives Matter, it's almost 50-50. There's Hispanic, there's Indian, there's Chinese, there's Asian, and there's as many white people as there are people of color, whether it's of African American or black, whichever they prefer. And to me, I'm like, wow, we've come a long way from 1980 to 2020. So obviously, from a social standpoint, the unity and the at-one-ment is growing. It might be slowly, but it's happening. Right, guys?
Yeah, and we
Yeah,
we talked about, like, when you clean out behind the fridge, it's kind of dirty at first, but you got to kind of go through that first period of uncovering stuff, and dealing with all the grimy parts of something, to clean it up and to bring light to it, and to clean it up. I mean, and it's just, you got to face it, and I know a lot of times you don't want to, but that's really the best way to acknowledge it, handle it, and move on to something much better.
Yeah, exactly. This is a time where we can have real conversations about what's not working, and that's what's happening, but not just, certain people. The people who are really making the real statements it's grassroots. It's certainly our leadership's not there. It's the people who are saying, wait a minute, this is not working, and we're not going to keep playing this game out over and over and over again. I mean, we've all known that this stuff is there. And, when we talk about like Black Lives Matters, for instance, there's the issue of systemic racism. That means it is deeply, deeply, deeply entrenched in this system. And, it was kind of interesting that I was reading the book Hamilton because I was wanting to get to see the show Hamilton, which I couldn't get in to see, but I saw the movie just recently, which I really enjoyed. But one of the big issues that the founding fathers did not confront was slavery. And they were afraid to do it then because they didn't want to lose the South. They were in a tenuous situation. Many of them were slave owners. So they had to take responsibility for what they had been doing and were continuing to do. And they weren't ready to do it. And that has patterned itself into the fabric of our country. And when we look at the fact that we've never come to terms with that, and now because of this incredible transformative time we're in, and a time where people have the time and space to be able to get out there and say something about this, it's happening. It's really, it's, you know, I'm thrilled. I just feel like, yay, we can get to the root of what's been going on. We can make some real meaningful changes now.
Change. I just wanted to add that some people misunderstand the term Black Lives Matter, and they think that what it means is only Black Lives Matter, and they respond with, well, white lives matter too, and new life matters and old life matters. They don't get that what it's saying is Black Lives Matter too. There's an also at the end of that statement that's missing. And if people realize that what they're saying is Black lives also matter, then they couldn't be so affronted of, well, how dare you say that only Black lives matter? Do you know what I mean? It's a misinterpretation of the statement. And I just wanted to say that because I think they should actually rebrand and say Black Lives Matter too. I think that would help them a lot, you know?
You know, it's also interesting in a way, matter is a double entendre. That means that it also is the physical stuff of showing up. For so long, people of color have been diminished, where for a long time down south, they were only considered to be 2/3 or so much or this or that. And so this is like fully being present, fully coming into matter. I mean, all of us really need to be fully present in this incarnation and grounded, and realize that, you know, from a soul standpoint, skin color is something we've all changed from incarnation to incarnation, as well as changing from, you know, male to female to whatever. And I think sometimes some of what's going on today, because the veil is getting so thin, that people are incarnating and feeling past incarnations right there. And so it's like, here I am in a male body, but I feel my female incarnations, and it gets to be confusing in the whole physiology of the body, because really we're beyond male, we're beyond female, and we're beyond color. But that's the place that we're going to. And really, with some of the experiences I think that all of us have been having in meditation, and with a growing sense of spiritual connection, we are moving closer to that real reflection of oneness that sometimes is given lip service, but and this is what we do with a lot of our tools, is bring people into a vibrational state where they can start to see the reality of we are moving toward unity. And that if we have anything that is driving us in this dimension as far as physical action, it's to be of service to all, and to really take that to heart, to understand that we are here to be in service. And when you're in service to everything, because we are connected. And the more we start practicing or playing that out in our daily lives, the closer we come to feeling it internally, the closer we come to really connecting to that bigger part, that unity part of ourselves. And something else I was thinking about while we were talking about some of the social changes and things on the outside, I think it's really good for all of us to also look at this last couple of months and find the God spark for us. And what I mean by that is source is always in our lives. It's always present. it's always supporting us. So it's like, look at what happened over the last few months for you, and go into, if you want, meditation, writing, whatever it takes to find the things that are better. Find the places where Source has been stronger in your life, giving you things, opening you up, doing things that you didn't expect. I know for us, it really has been changing what we're doing at Metaforms, mostly because I've had to go down there and do a lot of it myself. And Gail and I have both been shipping from here, moving a lot to our home. We moved the telephone to ring in here, and then we started going, why did we ever have it ring in at the shop? We can talk to people directly. When I was at the shop and I was doing some of the things I had my people doing for years, I went, God, I don't like doing this. There's got to be a better way. So I worked out totally new ways of doing a lot of the pendants, a lot of things. And this was the gift of this time. It opened it up, and that was Source saying, I've taken this time to give you special gifts, special insights, and that's there for everyone. So let's find our special gifts and insights, because they're always there, and sometimes we just don't have a chance to see them.
Good point. How about you, Shane? What did you find since March? What changed for you and your family?
Well, definitely a lot less running around, because I'm like the family taxi guy. So that's freaked me up quite a bit. You know?
I bet.
Yeah.
Lots of time now.
Well, it's not, it's, you know what it really helped me with is not having to constantly worry about, wait, am I supposed to pick somebody up? Is somebody, is it around the time somebody's getting off or off the school bus or whatever, So like all of that, it really was like I could just take a big deep breath and sigh and think, I don't have to worry. I don't have to look at my phone or anything. I can just relax, and utilize it.
We used to get off shows early so you could go pick somebody up. Remember, we were like, it's time to go. Come on, let's go. Yeah.
So yeah,
it was really
that's
interesting
definitely
because for me it didn't change. I worked from home before, and I worked from home now. And my daughter went from working in a shop to delivering food. So for me, it didn't have a big impact on my personal reality bubble, but it did on the extension of me into the bigger world, where I had to kind of think of, well, what do I feel about wearing a mask? Is it symbolic of being silenced? I had to kind of face the bigger issues of how do I fit in to the bigger world when I don't necessarily agree that well people should act like sick people. You know what I mean? And I had that problem with the lockdown, and I wound up living in a place that didn't get locked down. I was like, if I get locked down, I'm going to go out more than I did before. And I didn't get locked down. It was like the universe worked with me so that I wasn't like pushed to my limits.
Right. And I like how just the other way around, like Greg was just saying, how he actually worked with the situation. He could have easily just continued on doing things like they were before, but it sort of got him out of that daily grind of however you do things and thought, you know what, how can I do this better? And then you took something that could have been a setback or could have ruined your day or whatever, how people view things, and you made something out of it, I like that.
Well, me too. Let's talk about sacred geometry and how that fits in with or helps the bigger picture in the individual reality bubble. So if you're stressed and maybe it's money or work or having to wear a mask at work and running around as a wait staff, what can you do with sacred geometry to make your life better?
Because we are moving in. I would like to add to that, a segue into that you guys are finding people are waking up from this whole thing, right? I mean, they're inquiring more about the sacred geometry and wanting to know more. So is that sort of what you're seeing?
Yeah, it's been really fun that our phone's been ringing. like people are finding us from all different walks, different ways. In fact, one of the things when this first happened, and we were in a place where in Colorado, we had to close down our businesses. And of course, we could work from home. So immediately we started looking at how we can do that. And it gave us time where we looked at each other and said, how can we make the most of this? This is a time where we really want to be able to reach out and communicate with people. And we do a lot on YouTube. So we started using the time that we had to do YouTube programs and do different kinds of things that, we had the space and time to do it. It was beautiful. And sacred geometry, one of the reasons that people are really getting triggered by it now is that what we're used to in our normal everyday life isn't working. And so we've got to look at other ways. There's been a lot of interference to be able to come from that place of our spirit, whether it's all the, electromagnetic frequencies or, being on the merry-go-round of our lives where we have so many different things that we have to do in places and people to see and responsibilities and all that. It's now a time where, we're able to say what is really important. And if connecting in and having the time to meditate, having the time to open our space, even down to, people weren't using their cars as much. And so the air pollution was cleaning up. There's so many amazing things. And so sacred geometry is like, it's the technology that hooks us into who we are at those deeper levels, not just the practical everyday, what am I going to do for dinner tonight and who am I going to pick up at 4:00, but what's really meaningful and purposeful. What does my heart and soul really want to do with this time? And because so many people are being struck with, the opportunity and the time to reflect on that, they are seeing how sacred geometry is amazing to help, kind of help them get through the chaos and get into the clarity. And
how does it do that? Is it on a cellular level or a DNA level? Or is it on a psychic level or a spiritual level?
All of the above.
All of it.
Can you explain?
You see, first, sacred geometry isn't something that's like a book on the shelf. It's literally every single thing in creation, including time itself, has patterns, rhythms, cycles. As long as 25,920 year cycles. That's the precession of the equinox. And so just to show how time has relationship to physicality and sacred geometry, if you take that period of time and divide it by 12, you have 2,160 years, which is the time we're in each sign of the zodiac. Okay? Now, when you look at a cube, it has 6 faces. Each face has 360 degrees, 90 times 4. You multiply 360 times 6, you have 2,160. So the number of degrees in a cube are the same number of years in a cycle of one of the signs of the zodiac. Plus, it happens to be the diameter of the moon, which was constructed for that reason, so that it would be resonant, so that it could move energy more easily into the earth domain. And all the different platonic solids, all the geometries divide evenly into time, and evenly into a 360-day year, which is what the Sumerians used, the Mayans used, the Egyptians used, the Chinese Vedic scriptures. And I mean, everyone was using that because it was given to them by ancient culture, the fall of Atlantis and what happened 9,600 years ago with the second flooding. I mean, there were beings that went out, started sharing information. And there are ways to work with geometry, physical geometry. Different kinds of metals have different molecular structures, and that has a different geometry to it. And when we bring these things together in some of our tools, what happens is we can create a resonance, just like a C tuning fork resonating with a C tone. Or something I discovered the other day, maybe you can see this. This is, one of these head scratchers. It's really nice, but it has
Are those crystals?
a number of long ones and a number of short ones. And if let me see, there you are. If I pluck a long one, you see how the other long ones move, but the short ones don't?
Mm-hmm.
Now let me pluck a short one. Do you see how the other short ones move and the long ones don't? Could you see that?
I did.
Can you raise it up a little higher?
Okay. Up, right there.
Perfect.
So if I do this and I do a long one, you see how all the other long ones, but the short ones don't move.
That's amazing.
And then if I take the short one, see how the short ones go in little circles?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Okay.
That's cool.
Is resonance. And when we create resonance through these tools, like the heart companion that you're wearing and that people wear, it has over 35 different antenna systems in it. We put it in a chamber where it has 2 chambers going, lots of forms spinning, things going on, connecting to the grid of the planet. What we're doing is creating resonance with the natural order of creation. And when you start resonating with creation, you start moving in a place that feels good, that feels connected. That's where love comes from. That's where your ability to manifest comes from. That's where your ability to be moving psychically, looking at things from a higher perspective, understanding all of the things that we think of as positive aspects of a human being. Excuse me, that's what's coming from the bigger part of ourselves. And yet the bigger part of ourselves, we're multidimensional beings. And to connect to the bigger part is almost impossible because of all the electromagnetic frequencies. I came across something that Rudolf Steiner said the other day. Do you remember who he was?
Mm-hmm. A theosophist.
He created Waldorf education. He was quite an anthroposophist, and he was very clairvoyant. And in 1917, he said, because of the electromagnetic frequencies that are swarming through our atmosphere today, what's happening is it's very difficult to be human.
Wow.
And that was over 100 years ago. Think of how many things have been added to our electromagnetic spectrum, how many frequencies, how many artificial substances have been created in this reality, how many toxins have been spewed out from all the different chemicals, all the things we're doing. And those toxins block us, keep us from being fully human, keep us from being our multidimensional selves. The EMFs do that.
Can you speak on 5G, Gregory?
5G,
what is 5G going to do?
It's like, one, it's going to make it worse, but you've already been living with something much worse than your parents were living with, and they were living with something much worse than their parents were living with, and their parents were living with something much worse than their parents were living with, because you go all the way back through the Industrial Revolution, and you go back to what started happening in the 1800s with pollution, and stress is another aspect that disconnects us from who we truly are. So all these things are really trying to thwart us from becoming the fully manifest, loving human beings that we have the potential to be. And so by working with the tools that we've created that work with sacred geometry, that work with resonance, we can bring your body, your emotional body, which exists on the higher dimensional realm, the fourth dimension, your mental body, which is existing almost in the fifth dimensional arena. And so we can bring the multi-dimensional aspects of ourselves into a resonant calmness. It's like going into nature and feeling that base frequency of what really is natural. You know, the water running in a brook and the wind blowing through the leaves of a tree. It's relaxing because it's putting you in a space that is resonant with what you want to be resonant with. And yet, to be able to do that all the time, to be in meditation is wonderful, but we can't sit there all the time. It's like these tools allow us to be in that space all the time. Because when you start moving into the brook, your breath, it's wonderful. And if you can hold that while you're doing all the things in the world that are thwarting us, you know, you can look at them from a higher perspective and see all the gifts. See them as gifts. Opportunity for you to grow. That's why we're here, to be able to grow spiritually. And if it were just a piece of cake, you know, that's all we'd have is a piece of cake. We wouldn't have spiritual growth. You know, it's like going to the gym and flapping your arms up and down, and someone says, "What are you doing?" And you go, "I'm working out. I'm working out." And they say, "Well, you know, if you put some barbells or some weight or some resistance at the end of your arms, you'd build those muscles faster." And that's what happens here. We are building spiritual muscle because that's the opportunity. That's why we've chosen to incarnate, to come to a place where there's an opportunity to be of service, to do something, to share something with other human beings about your heart, about what love is. And you may do that with a dance, you may do that with soup, you may do that with the way you share written things, visual things, all kinds of opportunities are here. It's our opportunity, each one of us, to discover how we can share what's real in our lives with the world. And first, we have to discover that reality through our heart chakra. And that's what opens up, that's why we have our heart companions, to open up the heart chakra so we can move through to the higher aspects of our being and allow spirit, soul to come through and play in this dimension. And that's what it wants to do. And it's always play when you come at it from that perspective. Even if, you know, Donald Trump is dancing up and down and doing this, and Biden's dancing up and down and doing that, it's all play. It's all opportunity. How can you be real? How can you, you know, comfort the person, the thing, that whatever's next to you, to be real, to be loving?
You see it that way, Shane, often.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, with your example that you did of sort of the little head scratcher, head massager thing there, Greg, is it like when you wear, say, the heart pendant like Eileen has on there? You can hold yours up, Eileen. And is it sort of like your heart energy gets it vibrating, or does it store up energy, or is it like the cosmos gets it vibrating and then you reap the benefits? What's
It has
kind of
two
happening?
sides.
What's the mechanism, or does it really depend on what piece of geometry you have?
So you see these tools. Whoops, I'm grabbing my mic. Sorry. These tools, and then we have lots of other tools. These have two sides because they have antenna systems inside. They have toroidal systems. You know what I mean by a torus, the way all energy moves like a donut. They have about 9 toroidal systems. They have all kinds. They have a photon generator. They have things made out of fiber optic material, carbon fiber. We work with, fullerenes, all kinds of things inside. And so when a person puts it on, they're putting that vibration on. They're putting on that antenna system, which is allowing them to enter that space automatically. Now, how sensitive they're going to be to it, different people feel it at different rates, depending on how they've been working with sensitivity in their life. What they're going to do with it, everybody does something a little different, but we're all human beings and we do things really very much the same on the other hand. So when this vibration is on your body, you start being entrained by that vibration. But that vibration is you. It's the bigger part of you. It's the part of you you've been missing. It's the part of you that is, maybe you get now and then glimpses of it, and it feels wonderful. As I said, maybe when you're sitting out in nature, or you're in a deep meditation, or you've done something, with a special high moment. There are all kinds of, none of us are unfamiliar with what feels good. We're just not able to hold on to it all the time. This world makes it difficult, but this makes it easier to hold on to longer and longer and longer. And then you work with it. You use your intelligence to say, okay, I have a habit pattern here. I used to wake up in the morning and say, okay, what's not working? What do I have to fix? Damn, what do I have to do today? And, that sometimes has been our attitude. But people talk about being grateful helps. Well, when you're feeling good inside because you're in that vibrational state, makes it a little easier to grab onto, okay, I'm going to move to my grateful mode. I'm going to start looking at things. And maybe it takes a while to think, and you move and you shift. But the tool just gives you that little bit of an edge, pushes you over. You feel good, and people say, I don't know why. I've had people come in wearing these, and this one woman who was a grandma said, I love it because I visit my grandkids, and they're 2, 3, 4 years old. They used to always run away from me when I came. Since wearing the pendant, they now crawl all over me. Because kids do not depend upon placebo effect. Hey, she's wearing a pendant, maybe there's something. No, they just are attracted to energy. They are attracted to what feels good. And we make these for animals, and those are some of my favorite stories. Just the other day, we had someone say that she put one on her dog, little terrier. And this dog used to always bark at the house cleaner. And when she put the pendant on her, the dog pendant, she stopped barking at the house cleaner. She stopped being intimidated by bigger dogs. She stopped barking at bigger dogs. I mean, when I talk about feeling good inside, feeling connected, I'm saying that, these are words. This is a human being out there listening to this. Hey, maybe that works, maybe it doesn't. But when you put it on a dog and a dog reacts differently, that's great.
Yeah, that's not placebo. No placebo effect there.
No placebo effect. That dog just stopped feeling fear. It stopped feeling that worry. I've had people say they put it on their cats, and the cats sit there on top of a fence, and birds start pecking on top of the fence next to them, and the cats don't chase them. They used to always chase the cats. Dogs that used to, have a hard time in the same household, being next to each other, now they are comfortable with each other. The way that translates into a human being is that I had an older couple. They were in their 80s come into my shop. They both had bought pendants. They were in to get something else because they liked what the pendants were doing. And he leaned over to me and he said, "What I really like about this pendant is my wife doesn't yell at me as much anymore." And she overheard us and she said, "I don't have to." It's really interesting. It's like, it shifted them both. And from their perspective, that's how they saw it. That's how they read it.
You brought up something.
An amplifier of energy or something. Good, high energy.
Of positive energy.
And I was going to bring up something that Greg mentioned about fear, because fear is something that it really inhibits our health. It inhibits our ability to really be full on in our life, our relationships. And if we really look at it, most people are operating, I'd say the majority of their life, based on some syndrome of fear. That's ingrained in our brains and in our, genetics, I guess, at this point. And that fear has us do all kinds of strange things, but it's not who we are. Fear is not who we are. Love is who we are. And that's one of the beautiful things with sacred geometry, because it helps us take that breath, that moment, and go, wait a minute, I'm not about fear. I'm not needing to react in fear. I'm able to reset and act out of love and compassion. Well, I mean, honestly, it's an ongoing journey. We're not going to go from total fear to total love, overnight. But what we do see is that things start shifting. And then each person has more opportunity to notice what's going on and make the choices. Do I want more of that, less of this? But it does help to be able to stop and, just take that bird's eye view and go, whoa, what's going on here? It's the moment when we get a chance to hear that inner voice, let the intuition start to guide us more so that we're not just reacting out of habit.
You made a good point, Gail, that sometimes fear comes out as aggression, as anger, and people go, oh, I hate that person. They're so aggressive. But if they knew that it was stemming from a deep place of fear, they wouldn't be so angry at them. They'd want to say compassionately, is there something I can do to make you feel more safe, more secure, to love yourself more and think higher of yourself so that you're not striking out at people aggressively, because aggression is a very fear-based response, isn't it?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
Every single negative emotion is a form of fear. And it all began in this physical body. We're in a 3D world. And the purpose of fear is basically to keep us alive. It's the fight or flight syndrome. We have to choose, are we going to fight or are we going to run because something is going to hurt us? But we've turned it into something today where we come outside and we have our new car and there's a scratch on it. All of a sudden we're freaked out. You know, the dog throws up on the carpet and we freak out. And our body goes through the same fight or flight syndrome. We're starting to pump adrenaline. We have cortisols going through our body, and that's killing us. It's diminishing our lifespan because fear or anger or sadness is fear, guilt is fear, pride is fear. All of these things are aspects of fear. It's the only thing that's coming out of the human body. And when you experience love or joy, that's coming from higher self. That's coming into your body through your heart chakra from your soul. And it's what your soul often uses. Your guidance uses that to put you on the right track. If you feel really good around this person, check it out. Do it more. You really enjoy doing this. You know, that's where follow your bliss came from. When you find what turns you on, do more of it, because that's the essence of your being and what your higher self is trying to direct you toward through those feelings. We feel them both. We feel negative stuff and we feel positive stuff. The positive stuff is coming from the bigger part of ourselves, which is another reason to start being resonant with that geometric aspect of ourselves. You see, I showed you how and told you how time and physical geometry resonate with each other, connect to each other. Well, all the multidimensional aspects of our being, all the way to source, follow patterns and rhythms and cycles that can be understood through sacred geometry. And that's why it has been used on this planet for hundreds of thousands of years, because I remember a lot of that. And when we use it, it's always to connect us to the bigger part of ourselves. It's the only way we can slip into a soul space. And when we get into the rhythm of our breath and meditation, when we get into some of these other rhythms of nature, that's when we say, something is bigger than me and I like it. I like being in this space. I like having this feeling.
If I may ask, you go, Shane. I'm being a question hog here. Go, Shane.
No, I didn't have any questions. Go right ahead.
Are you sure? I wanted to ask about the two spinning sacred geometry forms behind you, because I have the unity grid spinning in my living room, okay? And that stellated earth grid above it, I have spinning in my bedroom. And I only have three forms. I have that one, this one, and then I have this. I have this chakra clearing form. So can you talk to the two forms we see spinning behind you, what they do to the human body, the human mind, the human spirit, the emotions?
Okay. And actually, this is a star dodecahedron. You have a stellated earth grid, which is that has an icosahedron also running through it. And what that does, the stellated earth grid is more expansive. It takes you into a universal journey. The star dodecahedron is working more with the Christ level of consciousness. And what I mean by that is Jesus came into this dimension. He was actually, I believe, a being from a higher density, which is a form of moving up in spiritual consciousness. But he came back into this density to help ground that Christ level of consciousness. That's why he was Christed. And this is a form that opens up the heart chakra, that works tremendously well with love and that aspect of consciousness and that doorway through the heart chakra into that level of compassion and love that Jesus grounded on this planet in this dimension. Now, the unity grid beneath it is made up of 60 triangles. Each one of those triangles is exactly the same angles as what you'll find on, aha, there it is. Each one of those triangles is the same as what you find on the pyramid at Giza. And that's never really talked about, but it's like that geometry, the Giza pyramid, is bringing and grounding certain energies through the square base into the earth. Each face is slightly indented, and when that just means you've got two 32-degree angles at the top, roughly 32. They're actually 31 degrees 43 seconds, but 32 for all practical purposes, because 32 is the angle of ascension. It's the angle that you'll find in sacred scriptures like the Sefer Yetzirah, one of the oldest Jewish scriptures. And in the Sefer Yetzirah, it talks about, the very first sentence is what's going on with 32 and how God used 32 to engrave into this dimension the truth. And 32 is when you take a cube and you make it into a dodecahedron, which is at the center of this form. And it's in this form too. When you look at it carefully, you can see the dodecahedron in your form. See, there's a 5-sided face, and there's 6-sided face, but there's a dodecahedron next to it. So those dodecahedrons are built on a cube. When you raise that cube up into a little roof, that's how you get a dodecahedron. And that angle is 32 degrees. Plus, when you take the dodecahedron, which has 12 faces, and an icosahedron, which has 20 faces, and you combine them, you have 32. And those two forms are forms that are worked with in the higher dimensional realms, and they help move us into higher dimensional realms. And so,
do you have to have them spinning in front of you, or can we look at your screen and get the same effect? Like, those aren't really there, right? I have mine here, but you are using, do they have the same effect if we look at your video while you're doing a meditation and we watch the form spinning, but they're not in our physical possession?
Did you want to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Yes and no. I mean, it's certainly better than nothing. But you see, it would be much easier for you to experience it because you've had the physical experience. You've lived with it. You've taken it into your physiology, your emotional body, your mental body. And so the more we work with these, the more we can bring up that energy simply by going there in thought. But it's a process. And it's just like, these help tremendously. And I've been wearing one since we first created. I mean, I've been working with sacred geometry and energy for 35 years. And I still keep growing and getting more and having a stronger experience. And we'll make something new. Like you asked earlier about 5G, we have come up with a stronger tool for working with 5G, called the 5G solution. So it works with that level of electromagnetic frequencies, but it does it not by shifting the frequencies, it does it by creating a portal in your living space where the energies that start coming in, the energies you start communing with, are of a higher vibrational nature.
Is that why we spin them? Is that why they're moving, Gregory?
It often, spinning helps the field magnify. You can also take a little bit from the analogy of when you have a motor or you have a coil of wire and you have something in the center with a magnet on it and you spin it, it starts to create an induction. That is, it induces a flow of energy through that coil of wire. The spinning does it. But when you take a form which has much more going on, then this is the skeleton of it. It has a light body. It has an energetic body. And that body, when it spins, it's starting to go through everything and it's starting to expand. It's starting to move in a frequency. The speed of spinning.
Oh, it is there. It's real. It's not just on the screen.
Yeah, it is here. Let me just show you something if you could. So yeah, this is real. And so the spinning definitely is something that allows the environment to really pick up on that resonance. Because what we're wanting to do is create that portal, the coherence in a life that's very, very chaotic. But another way that we work with our tools is as meditation tools. So for instance, if I have this above my head, and you're not going to be able to see me right now, but when we put that above our head and meditate underneath of these forms, then we're getting the essence of those forms to help us connect to those higher dynamic levels. So that's how, like, we have our meditation room set up. The geometries are not spinning. You don't need them to spin at that point. But just by creating that conscious connection and being quiet and working with the breath and allowing the energies to penetrate through the crown chakra and through the body, it's amazing. It's just amazing what those energies do. So, you know, there's a number of different ways that we work with this. Another way, and I think this is really one of the ways that, you know, back in the time of Plato and when they were really getting into geometries, they would really go deep into it, you know, whether they were drawing it or penetrating their consciousness with it. But as we do that, as we just use these as tools to take us to the next dimension, they're amazing. You know, you keep getting another perspective every time that this moves. And that expands the mind. It expands our creative energy. It expands the capability of soul to really come and interact with our lives, with our bodies.
I have some testimonies for you guys since I've been spinning them for 3 years. Are you ready?
Has it been 3 years? Oh my gosh.
Yes. Can you believe it was since the portal with David Wilcock where I met you guys?
Wow.
I met Gregory there, remember? At least 3 years ago now.
I thought it was 2, but whatever.
It feels like 1 or 2. So I have the stellated earth grid spinning, this time at 30 rotations per minute, way too fast. But when it was spinning slowly, okay, I would go to certain people, come and sit under my stellated earth grid. And if they were sensitive empaths and energetic and psychic and creative, they would sit under it and go, oh my God, I'm getting dizzy. I'm getting dizzy. I'm getting dizzy. And then they'd come out and go back in and come out and go back in. And if they were closed off, materialistic, more in the physical world than the spiritual world, they'd sit under it and go, I think I feel something. I feel a tingle. So I was amazed that people who are incredibly spiritually connected felt like they were going up in a spaceship or something. They felt physical reactions. And this I spin every Saturday night when we do our live earth healing meditations. The Unity Grid is very much a part of this channel, but it's across the room by a salt lamp, so nobody really sees it.
Something that we've started doing, which is, I didn't set anything up here to show you the 5G, but it's a form about like this high, and it spins within another coil with magnets on it. So and at the center of the 5G, the center rod is steel, and it's wrapped certain number of times with copper and titanium. And so while that's spinning, it's generating this field. And then what we often do is put geometries underneath it, like the Unity Grid is one of my favorites to put underneath the 5G. And then the other day, I put something called the Aquarian Pyramid, which is a 6-sided pyramid. And it has 6-sided stars in the base, 3 of them. And that's underneath the 5G. And then above it, while it's spinning, I have something called the Merkabah of Oneness. And it was such a strong energy that right away Gail started saying, oh my God, we've got to be careful in how we focus our will when we're working with this, because it is so powerfully capable of being focused to shift reality.
Wow. Wow.
So we directed it. I mean, since we've had this going, we have some amaryllis. I have a bunch of amaryllis that I bloomed around Christmas time, okay? And they're all blooming again now. I mean, we've had probably about 15 or 20 blooms, and we've got probably another 15 or 20 that have just come up right now. I mean,
we've never seen that before.
Have you seen amaryllis just keep blooming through the year?
I know what they are, and they bloom once a year at Christmas time, right? Am I right? My mom had one.
Huge flower.
Yeah,
huge flower right up the middle. Beautiful. It's like a cactus, isn't it? With a beautiful flower.
Yeah.
Christmas in July.
Yeah.
Christmas in July. Christmas all year long.
I mean, we're getting all these, and it's sending up new growth, and it's got leaves that are dying off. I've never had that happen before. I've had them bloom, and then in the fall, I put them in a dark space, let all the foliage die, and then I bring it out and I do it again. But now it's going through it, and we've got a little tree. We bought a Norfolk pine this big for a Christmas tree for our daughter about 8, 9, 10 years ago. And it's in our bedroom now, and it's over 10 feet high, and it's about 6, 7, 8 feet across. And I'm just saying that these energies and that are starting to be created, it's making plants go crazy too.
Can I say something about the costings of these? This is something I found out about you guys that isn't advertised on your website. There are really affordable forms made of bronze, and then there are more expensive forms that are dipped in gold, so it's electroplated. And I needed to do something with forms to get an end result, and you guys said to me, get what you want now, and you can pay us off over the next 3 to 6 months. In other words, you didn't say, well, if you don't have the money today, you're not getting your form. And you made it easy for me to actually get the forms I felt I needed, as opposed to just getting a form because I couldn't afford 3. So if anybody goes to your website on Metaforms, is it metaforms.org or We Connect?
No, it's iconnect2all.com. The letter I, connect, the number 2, all, ALL.com. And all of the forms give you an option to either have it in a 2-pay or a 1-pay situation.
But if they call you, like I did, and said, I need 3, yeah,
then we're very happy to create a plan over time that works for you. We do not charge any interest or anything like that, and we trust people, so we ship everything out as soon as we have it in stock.
I couldn't believe that. I think I paid over 3 months, and you shipped everything in one box, and I'm like, wow, I've only paid for a third of this. But you said, what works for you, Eileen? We want you to have what you need, not what you can afford right today.
Right.
And I just thought that's an amazing way to do business.
Yeah, we do. I mean, every once in a while, it doesn't work, but I'd have to say that 99% of the time, people are so honorable, and it's beautiful to be able to, to co-create with people that way. So that's what we do. And should I give a phone number?
I think Shane's putting it all in the video description. Shane's pretty good that way.
We don't have the phone number, but if you'd rather them call, we do have iconnect2all.com on the screen.
And you know what? We'll give you the phone number of 303-823-5560.
No.
That's no, that works. That works.
Oh, that will work. But
it works. That's going to our home. But it's so 823-5560. If you call us, we'll be happy to answer questions. If you need to set up a payment plan with us that works for you, any of that. So
it's real. It's a wonderful way to be able to work with sacred geometry without feeling like, but I don't have the money today. It's like, oh, I can still do it. And then there are less expensive forms, right? That you can work with.
Yeah, I mean, if, the bronze, like you were saying, all of these forms, everything that we do is handmade, and we have wonderful people who've been with us for a number of years who are really beautiful artisans. They're so conscientious, so beautiful, and so the way that the geometries are constructed is they're welded with silicon bronze, and then we either sandblast them if we want to keep it in the bronze state, which is a lot less expensive, or if you like the energy and the beauty of gold, then we send that out to a gold plater, and that does definitely raise the price. But everything that we do, the pendants that we're wearing here, we start out with just strips of metal, of stainless steel, and we do everything ourselves. And so every step of the way, we're creating all these different little antenna systems and bezeling the gems and putting it together and all kinds of wonderful stuff. So
such detailed work too.
Yeah,
it's very detailed. Oh my gosh,
it really just is. From my perspective, I've had it spinning in my life 24/7. I know that, Greg, you said don't spin it 24/7 because you might break the motor, but hey, my motor loves me. It has been spinning with I've got Metatron's cube. I usually spin Metatron's cube for myself, and then for the meditations I spin the Unity Grid 24/7, although I do turn it off at night while I'm sleeping, so maybe 15 hours a day it's spinning, and I feel clear. I feel clean mentally clean, emotionally clear. I feel peaceful. And of course, I meditate a lot. Like Shane, I meditate like 3 times a day. So I know that's helping me. But I get a physical effect from my sacred geometry. And I'm incredibly addicted to it. If I go away from it and I haven't brought it with me somewhere, I get more tense and more stressed and more reactive. And if I get back home where my sacred geometry is spinning in several rooms, I just feel protected, I have to say. I feel a spiritual protection coming from my sacred geometry. And that sounds crazy. That sounds like angel work,
But it's not a protection against something. It's like it's a way of shoring up your connection, because when you're connected, you are strong and you're not going to be thrown off your base. Kind of like with Tai Chi, for instance. Tai Chi is really based on the principles of not giving your power away to something else or someone else, but finding your center, your balance. And that's really what one of the distinctions with our work, that it's really about creating that center of coherence, that balance point. And the more that we're in the coherent field, then, we can see the beauty in anything. We can see the beauty in what somebody else might go, oh my gosh, that's such a pitiful thing. And we can look at it and go, wow, there's an opportunity of incredible growth here, or, however we decide to see it.
Or
But,
I can handle that. That too shall pass.
I can handle that.
Or
Yeah.
I am not my thoughts. I am not my thoughts. As soon as you have a bad thought and you're harping on it, you're just like, hang on a second. I am not these thoughts. I am so much more than these thoughts. And I like working with sacred geometry. I have to show you guys something special. Shane, this is a piece of chrysocolla I bought when I was 25 and I'm 59. And I've worn it almost every day since then. I have a few pieces that I wear constantly. And I broke it in half and I had it sealed. It was a different shape. You'll know the shape, Gregory, when you see it too. And it has gem silica in it. It has like a little spot of clearness. And over 25 years, the spot of clearness has grown into this shape. I don't know if you can see it. No, it's not going to come through because of
Not sure. Yeah, the light is.
Well, what has grown in the center of it that is really hard to see is a perfect cross. A perfect cross has grown right into the center of the piece.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And I am Catholic raised, Jesuit educated, totally rejecting my Catholic upbringing for the more unified, I love everybody, all religions are good. And yet I'm getting a connection to Christ consciousness, to the teachings of Jesus, which I learned about through the Gnostic Gospels, instead of the story of Jesus as taught to me by an organized church. So I'm feeling a connection to the truth of Jesus and Christ that wasn't necessarily presented by the organized church of the last 2,000 years. And I find it interesting that the gem silica turned into a perfect cross in the middle of the piece of jewelry.
I love it.
It's so beautiful what universe does to support us. And it's like, that's one of the fun things as we become more connected, the synchronicities that happen in our lives around us. And then we have the ability to see them. I mean, so often they're there, it's like source, God's there on the corner saying hi, and we're going, I'm busy, I don't have time to look at you right now. I mean, it's all around us. And the more in tune we become, the more these synchronicities, these things happen, and there's just gift after gift after gift until you see it's all a gift. Universe never stops giving us gifts. That's why I said a while ago, go back and look at this at the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic for you and see where are the gifts hidden that you now have the eyes to see. Open up and ask for the eyes to see the gifts. And universe will give you that vision, that sight. That's the wonderful thing about being here in the physical dimension. You really can shift things. And it takes, like what Rudolf Steiner says, it takes so much more energy to be human now. And he was speaking because of the difficulties of working with the electromagnetic frequencies. But for all of us, that's, the gift of working with sacred geometry.
We're adaptable. We're very adaptable.
We are. We are. We're always evolving. That's one of the things, that change is natural. Going through transformation is natural. We just have this concept that everything is supposed to be stable. Years ago, I was working as an artist doing some work for the Joffrey Ballet. And I was in New York, and I was doing some of the artwork in their rehearsal studio. And I would watch these dancers that would go to the point of, like, it looked like they could stretch beyond balance, and they were still balanced. And it was amazing. And I was talking to the choreographer afterwards, and I said, how do you know when you've reached that point? And he said, when you fall. And I said, well, of course. And it's okay to fall, because all that's done is it's taught us that that was the point. That was the point where we no longer were stable anymore. But honestly, we're always in this wonderful evolutionary process. Everything about life is evolution. And when we look out at nature, everything is evolution. And so when we stop trying to hold on so tightly to what we think reality is, then we start to see and play with what reality is, and we can dance with it. We can create with it. We can have a fun time with it. And so that's what this is about now. It's the freedom. It's the freedom to do something different and something new, and look for the serendipitous situations. Listen to that little voice inside. Really see the beauty and the humor in what we've been going through, and be in appreciation. The more we're in appreciation and gratitude, the more we can keep tapping into this wonderful ocean of incredible abundance. And it just comes from that state. And that's why we love sacred geometry, because it helps us be in that state of connection and gratitude. And then whatever is possible, it's just beautiful.
Absolutely. Something you said earlier made me think I'd really love our tonight's meditation to sort of be about reconnecting. Even your web, I connect to all, because we do have this connection with our group here, but even beyond this group, with the whole entire world, the cosmos, our galactic friends and family out there, the divine, there's that solid connection that we have throughout everything. But before we get to that, you guys do other things besides sacred geometry. Of course, you have on Oneness Talk Radio, you guys do, is that a weekly show in there? And I know, tell us a little bit about some of the other things you have, because we have those links below that people can click. So
Cool.
Okay. Curiously, with Oneness Talk Radio, though, we just left that just the other day.
Oh, okay.
We've moved more toward YouTube, and we have actually a series on YouTube right now, a series of 12 ways that spirit connects to us. And so, and we have geometries moving in the background slowly while you're listening to Gail and I for a half hour. And then we're going to have a series of another 12 after that in how you connect to spirit. And, there are 12 ways that spirit connects to us, and 12 ways that we've developed for connecting to spirit. And so that's on our YouTube channel, which is Sacred Geometry Tools.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tools. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Sacred Geometry Tools.
Yeah, that link is below. Yeah.
And so...
and then, we're going to, the beginning of August, we're going to do something new. We're going to do a 4-week live program where there'll be 2 segments every week. So there'll be 8 sessions. We'll do it on Zoom. And we're going to talk about sacred geometry. We're going to talk about some of the different forms, different geometries that we create, how to use them, what they do. Just, just go in deeper into that exploration of sacred geometry. So we'll be sending out emails about that. So the best way to be on our email list is to go to iconnecttoall.com. And when you come into it, there's a little page, a capture page or whatever you call it, fly page. And it'll tell you that there's a free gift. And what you need to do is just put your first name and your email address into that. And then we'll send you some really lovely meditations that we've recently put up that, when coronavirus happened, I just really heard from Spirit, let's get some meditations out there to help people really get what this time is about and center into it. So you'll get a few meditations from that as our free gift to you. And then you'll be on our mailing list so that you'll get information about our upcoming program and when we send out YouTube videos. Also, if you like our YouTube videos, you can join our channel. That's a great way to have everything there.
I must say, I have seen every video you two have ever done.
Oh
It took me a few years, and then I found another channel, a very old channel, right, Gregory, where you were doing videos from 8, 10, 12 years ago.
Oh my
God. They're still up there.
And it's channel?
Wow.
Yeah, maybe you were a guest. Maybe you were a guest, and there were people in the room, and you were demonstrating sacred geometry in front of little audiences, and I'm like, wow, this is really, really getting into the best of, right? I mean, you guys have been doing this a long time. I did the course with Drunvalo Melchizedek, and you guys worked with him and actually, is it okay to say, taught him some of the sacred geometry stuff before he became, like, he is known as the master of sacred geometry in the West, right?
Yeah, and there's a few things he still doesn't quite get. But yeah, because there are some things with geometry that go much, much deeper as far as the way they're made. I used to make models for him, and he would explain how they were made. So
okay, but we're going back 35 years. You
made.
guys are like, you understand sacred geometry the way some people, understand how to make a pie if you're a baker, or how to program a computer if you're a programmer. That's what sacred geometry is for you two, right? It just runs in your veins.
It does. And it's also, and what you mean by that is, I remember, we often would talk about past lives in Atlantis, where we spent quite a number of lives. And there's so much geometry from there that I remember.
Were they goodies or baddies, Greg? You always read stories of they blew themselves up. They got too focused on power and energy and poof, they were gone. Then you read that they emigrated to ancient Egypt and became the pyramid builders. I don't know how much of that is true, because I've also read the stories from Plato, which came from Solon. A priest in Egypt gave Plato the story. I was raised in Egypt. The story of Atlantis originates in Egypt, and most think it originates in Greece because of Plato, but it actually came from Solon.
When you look at something like when I talked earlier about the precession of the equinoxes being 25,920 years. Now that's a period of time that all of these cultures that use that didn't have the opportunity to understand or know. That takes a level of knowledge and observation of the earth that's going on from almost an extraterrestrial point of view. And so they all use the same calendar, the Mayans, the Egyptians. It was given to the Mayans. It was given to the Egyptians. It was given to the Sumerians. And something that was interesting, I saw a program with George Norrie, and I've forgotten the name of the woman who's an expert on Egypt. And what happened is she was shown some pictures of some wooden statues that were covered with gold. And these statues were all of the Egyptian gods. There they all were, carved. Well, because it was over wood, they were able to carbon date the wood. And these were found in a cave on the border of Syria and near Turkey and that direction. And war broke out, so they couldn't get back in there, but they were able to do this, get some out and get this testing done. And they were over 10,500 years old. So the Egyptian gods and what we know about Egypt was given to them from something that existed over 10,000 years ago. And interesting thing is that it was this is when I tune in and I remember Atlantis, there were lots of different aspects to Atlantis. Just like today, we have Jews and Christians and Muslims, different religions and so forth. And we have some splinter cults and things. That was a splinter cult. It wasn't, everyone in Atlantis wasn't into that. That was only a few. And those happened to be some of the beings that survived and ended making their way into Egypt. And I mean, it's just curious, the plays that go on in this world. But in the end, what does anything in the physical mean? It's just nothing. It's the backdrop. It's the play. It's the stage set. And we aren't even really the actors. It's the higher self that wants to come through and operate this character as a puppet as lovingly and consciously as possible. So
Atlantis wasn't all bad, and they didn't all blow themselves up, and they were more like what we have, the good, the bad, the duality. Do you think that they lived in the Atlantic Ocean on that high ridge that was once mountains? I mean, do you feel that
they lived all over the world?
Okay.
They lived a lot across North America. There are artifacts found in North America today that, you know, anyone into archaeology who's being honest says, how could this be here? It's, but they were not evolving where they needed to evolve. It was time for a change. But this whole thing of be bad and you'll have a karmic slap, it's like we've kind of laid that on them. They did need to evolve in certain ways. They weren't evolving in certain ways. They still were dealing with some of the same ego issues of, you know, I have power, and they were building power here. Their technology, the reason it hasn't been found, it isn't like a car. They could move, and look at some of the rocks that you find in some of these different places in Peru that are melted together and melded together.
Okay,
it's
so
like
12,000 years ago or 24,000 years ago, when we're looking at the cycle in the beginning of the Aquarian age now, the end of the Piscean age, the Yugas, do you think it was that they reached the height of their abilities 12,000 years ago or 24,000 years ago?
Their civilization really began kind of over melded with the Lemurians about 50,000 years ago. They had certain, you know, they didn't look like we look like as physical beings. I mean, there was a certain influx of extraterrestrial influence and blood, and they were doing pretty well at 12,000 years ago. But that's when there's really some wonderful proof that's been put together. Graham Hancock is a wonderful writer, and I would highly recommend some of his books. Magicians of the Gods, Fingerprints of the Gods was the first one, and he's just written another one that I've read about America Before, where he talks about that potential in the Americas. For example, you have hundreds of fruits and vegetables that were developed, domesticized, like the banana, all the potatoes and those different things, cocoa beans. It was all done in South America. There were tremendous things being done in South America. Even, there in some of the early writings of Pizarro's brother, when he was in Peru, his brother went over the Andes and found the beginning of the tributary that fed into the Amazon, and he went all the way down the Amazon. During that journey, he passed miles and miles of developed cities that were amazing. And yet, when explorers went back, just a few decades later, there was nothing there. And so they said he must have been making it up. He was delusional or whatever. But we didn't realize how devastating our influx of disease was to the Americas. And they always downplayed the number of indigenous people that were killed by that influx of disease. But a few archaeologists and historians start putting it up into possibly hundreds of millions. I mean, the number of people that lived here. So back to Atlanteans, there were strong outgrowths in, I think, the Americas, especially in Indonesia. But a lot of that's underwater, because what happened 12,000 years ago is you had the breakup of a comet come down, and we were just coming out of the ice age, and things were getting warmer, and we had a couple miles deep of ice over the northern part of North America. And they now have proof, by a lot of people's standards, a lot of archaeologists and other standards, that a piece of a comet came down, hit that ice, so you don't have the comet impact, but a tremendous amount of water flooded out from there, and that went into the Atlantic Ocean. There's evidence, you can see tremendous flood scarring from thousands of years ago that happened along the northern part of America, and that went into the Atlantic, changed the Atlantic currents. The weather cycle then shifted into a colder cycle, which is called the Younger Dryas. And we have the Hokovus culture that was living across America. They totally vanished during that time. And then in about 9,600 years ago, the comet came back. We went through that tail of the comet again, and we had another major destruction, and that's when the water came up 300 feet all around the planet, and that flooded out a lot of what was going on in Indonesia, what was going on in the coastline of a lot of parts of the world where the Atlanteans lived. And when you think about it, when you have that level of destruction, I mean, there's a layer there called the KT layer of carbon ash, where they have estimated that 60% of the world, of the entire planet, was on fire at one time in order to produce that amount of ash. And so when you think about all the stuff that was going on then, and of course, all the large mammals died at that time. The mastodons, the giant sloths, the saber-toothed tigers, the short-nosed bear, all of these giant animals disappeared. And a lot of the big animals that were in North America disappeared. And
So do you think we're at a similar reset now, Gregory, and people are feeling it and calling it the shift, the event, ascension, atonement, rapture? I can go on and on and on. Age of Aquarius, the golden age on Earth. Do you feel like this is a really important time for life on Earth and for humanity?
yes, that's what we've been talking about. Gail and I mean, this whole evening, Gail started out talking about what an important reset this is. But having said that, I think it's really important that we don't prophesize about something greater in the future. Oh, this means that next year, according to this prophecy, we're going to have the aliens drop down, or there's going to be a revelation in what's going on the planet. The good guys are going to pop up. I don't like any prophecy because it takes us away from the moment. The purpose of all of this is to instill in us the value of this moment. Now is the time to be working. Now is the time to be discovering what is real for you. Now is the time to be working on your spiritual growth. Now is the time to focus on now. And that's the problem with some of these. Is this the time that's in these? It takes us into that person's belief system, and it takes us out of the experience we're having in the moment. This is the richness. This body is the richness of our experience. Don't need to go beyond that. Work with your body, work with your experiences, work with the moment. Always, your breath only exists in this moment. We get so caught up in the problems of the past, and Gail was talking about the amount of fear that we work with. That fear comes from us focusing in the past so much, and then we take the past and we project it into the future, and we say, oh, I had such a bad time with that boss yesterday, I'm going to have it tomorrow. But when we're in the moment, which is what we've been talking about with these tools, if you can have an experience that brings you into that love, brings you into that vastness of your being on the higher levels, then you realize this moment is the most important thing. So yes, this is an important time, but let's not take it into any of these other out fringe things and say, yes, let's do it. Let's take advantage of this time for whatever it means for you right now, and do for your very best to really learn from it, grow from it, and add your love to it. And that's where we're at right now. Does that make sense? Does that
Absolutely
have a ring true?
I had to take advantage of the fact that you have information on Atlantis because I've never met somebody who does. So I feel really grateful that you were willing to spend so much time talking about Atlantis. That is a really fascinating part of my research, and I love the stories, and I'm always like, boy, if I only knew somebody who knew something about this time and place, so thank you so much.
Also, I wanted to bring up the fact that what you were just saying is so important, because I feel like you can almost classify things as being a distraction from this very moment. Whether it's all this stuff in the news and all the religious stuff and all of this looking to the future and worrying about the past, and all of that is just to get us out of the moment, and that's where it all happens. It's really about the journey rather than some sort of destination projected out into some future, when all there is this eternal moment of now, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Absolutely.
That's it. And that's the beauty of this time right now, is that we're really able to have so much of the distracted situations, they've just kind of vaporized.
Yeah.
And so here we are. And what do we have? We have the moment. We have each other. We have ourselves. We have our values. Wow. I mean, for the entire world to be given this opportunity simultaneously. I mean, yeah, I mean, it sort of happened a little bit, you know, as in the weeks and months, but it's pretty simultaneous what's happened.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and yes, practicing being in the moment. When, boy, 7 years ago, you know, Greg was talking about, you know, catastrophes and things like that. Well, we had our little mini catastrophe that was a humongous flood, and it taught us, you know, nature, when it's ready to do something, it does it, and it goes way beyond anything that I ever would have imagined. And what was beautiful about that time is it really, because of, I think, all of the work that we've been doing, it evoked that place of being in the moment, not trying to predict what was going to happen or worry or be in any other place, but now. Okay, what do we do now? What do we do now? And when we bring our whole selves, our, you know, not the ego, but our soul, which is what this is about, our soul presence into now, then the present moment is enormous and incredible and expansive. And we don't have to worry about what the outcome is going to be. It's going to be amazing. And so that's really the place that we're at right now, is building the presence and coming at it with our heart, coming at it with a higher level of intelligence. We're all capable of that, every single one of us. And we can all draw on the wisdom that we have from all walks of life, all different experiences and lives and whatever, and bring it here now. Bring it here now. That's the richness of this time.
Absolutely.
That's a great message.
And, you know, something else in relationship to what we were talking about with Atlanteans, they were coexisting with a lot of hunter-gatherers on the planet, just the way we are allowing, and you know, there are laws to keep us from disturbing some of the tribals, units that still exist in South America and some of the Indonesian islands and so forth, where they're living literally at a Stone Age level, if you will. And so they were coexisting with these other people. But when this catastrophe happened, when you think about it, who better can survive a catastrophe of that nature but this type of hunter-gatherer, Stone Age, you know, very root ground into the earth type of small groups. And so they survived. And a few of the Atlanteans survived, and they went out to different places in the world to share some of the things that were important, which is animal husbandry and the cultivation of crops. All of that happened so rapidly right at that time. And scientists today go, where did all these grass seeds come from? They didn't exist before, and now all of a sudden they were on the planet along with hundreds of, I mean, some of these things are very complicated. Some of the foods you have to eat, what you have to do to them. And these indigenous people had it all figured out somehow. So.
Absolutely. Well, do you think we should move into the meditation? I think
Let's do it.
doing the reconnecting through time and space, and you know, not only with each other but with this very moment of now. So we can actually turn our cameras off. Eileen,
Yeah, I
if you
will.
want, and
I'll
go.
put my sound down and my camera off.
And I will just go to Gail here.
Okay. And I liked your request before, Shane, about unity. And so this is the structure, the geometry that we call the unity grid, the grid of unity. And what I would really like everyone to do is just take a quick look at this before you close your eyes and see how you have all of these different pieces and angles and triangles that come into this lovely strong unity. And unity is not about everything trying to be the same. Unity is about bridging the differences, bringing it together so that we have something that is a container for who we really are moving into becoming. And so at this point, I will ask everyone, just take a few deep breaths and close your eyes if you're comfortable with closing your eyes and you're in a place where you can close your eyes. And take another cleansing breath and just let all the things that we've spoken about or any questions you may have, or let your mind just take a little break now. And instead allow your breath to lead you into harmony, lead you into coherence. And with that breath, feel that just relaxing your body, speaking to you about this moment. You are present in this magnificent moment. And you are present with so many different beings, different energies, all kinds of life around you. And breathe in your place within that. That all of these divine beings that are on this planet now, all the different species, all different walks of life, come together in a beautiful pattern of unity and evolution and growth. And just sit back and experience in gratitude what it means to be a part of that. Feel how you are appreciated fully for who you are. Your contributions matter. Your life force energy in this moment is a gift, a richness that contributes to this unity. And it is making that coherence even brighter, even more capable of taking the next steps. And allow yourself to hear the sounds, hear the inner voice. Recognize that inner knowing that is directing you into greater coherence, into greater unity, where all the parts create synergy. They create something far greater than any of the individual parts. Feel yourself taking that ride now, where you're in this extraordinary vehicle that is expanding into its next level of evolution. And you are part of that. And it feels good. Feel your heartbeat within that. Know the love and the compassion and the goodness that resides in all of this now. You are being called forth to bring your love and your light and your heart wisdom into this beautiful unity. Just breathe with that and feel the essence of this unity that is evolving, becoming more and more bright and exquisite and capable of embracing all of us with our uniqueness, our differences, able to see the likeness within. And just feel in your heart that gratitude, that peace that this brings you. That you are here now. And you are loved and you are appreciated deeply. And take another deep breath. And see this beautiful unity grid embracing all of life, embracing the entire planet, embracing the galaxy. These energies are loving and dancing and bringing perfect peace. And just feel the love. It is all love. That's who we are. Feel all that love coming together. Wow. It's incredible. Take it in. Bring it into your body and let that unity and love heal you. Bring you greater balance, stabilize your life, and give you the connections that bring you to full presence. Know that this will be with you and continue to evolve and bring greater light and awareness and joy to your life and to the lives of all, for the good of all. Feel that this is grounded deeply in your being. And when you are ready, start to come back into the physical presence of your room. You can move your fingers, your body just a little to start waking back up and coming back into our show again, knowing that this will continue to grow and take you to higher realms with great love and deliciousness. When you're ready, open your eyes.
Beautiful, beautiful, absolutely.
That was wonderful. A real treat for me, too. Just to sit back and go.
You know, I got this beautiful picture in my mind in the beginning, and it kind of morphed, but it was like a tree, and we're all part of this tree. All the leaves are important, but then even more so, it went beyond, you know, like in Christianity, we talk about the body of Christ, you know, and how any one body part laying on the ground is pretty much worthless, right? A finger, a toe, a fingernail, whatever it is. I mean, it's really together that we, you know, can operate, you know. Sorry for the graphic nature, right? But
No, it makes sense.
yeah, we got to be connected to be effective, and I think that's really the picture I got in the beginning. And the diversity should be celebrated, you know, that a finger doesn't need to be a toe and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Definitely.
Yay for diversity. That is, how boring it would be if we didn't have diversity. What would be the point?
Yeah, it seems like a lot of our earlier life, we spend so much trying to make everybody believe like us, but oh, thank goodness we don't get our wish, right? That'd be awful.
Right.
And we are so much more powerful together than we are alone. That is just so evident in terms of manifesting a just world. That's something that we can all do together, as opposed to being divided and separated by race, age, sex, whatever. No. We got to figure this out together. And there's where our power lies over the system, to change the system,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are one. We are one.
I'm so thankful that Greg and Gail could join us for the
Me
Power
too.
of One. This is going to be our last one for the summer. We are going to do monthly ones. I think we're going to be back 8/8 portal on a Saturday.
The
We haven't figured out the
Lionsgate
time.
portal
Ooh.
on August 8th. Yes,
August 8th, you guys, which will be a year after we did our ESETI one, right?
exactly. And Christopher's birthday with Angela.
Yep.
So that's going to be a nice one for her to come in if she has time to join us on that day. That would be awesome.
Awesome. Well, we do have Greg and Gail Hoag's links down below, you guys. So check them out. Their website is iconnecttoall.com, as you see on the screen. And also check out Sacred Geometry Tools 1 on YouTube. That's also below. You just click there and you can go subscribe to their YouTube channel. Awesome.
Lots of meditations on that channel, and they're wonderful. I've done them all. I'm going to do them again.
Oh,
The activations and things we have there.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff.
I do them. I'm on the email, so I do them as soon as they pop up. I can do them on the same day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was so
Awesome.
wonderful. I think it's been a year since we've seen you guys, at least a year, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was so glad to see your email. Thank you for the invitation to both of you.
You guys give us so much. You really do. And I think we're learning more about sacred geometry every single time you come on. It's building this body of knowledge in our community.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll come again.
Definitely got to do it again. Lots of love, light, and unity to
Lots
all
of love.
you guys.
Peace,
We'll see you on the
everybody.
next one.
Love you.
Absolutely.
Blessings and
Blessings.
lots of love. Thank you.
Enjoy this time.
Be sure to check out the website at uotf.net. There you will find the live stream schedule displayed in your local time right there on the front page. Below that, you'll find links to take the Beyond Quantum Healing course at a discounted rate, purchase our book, Mandela Effect, Friend or Foe, in paperback or ebook, or to contact me to schedule a BQH session. At the top of the site, you'll find links to help support the work I do, access the free private forum where you can discuss organizing get-togethers in your area, Mandela effects, and more. Thank you all so much for being here.